Good morning. Happy Thursday. For those of you who are interested, I did have fish yesterday. I had some smoked salmon. I also had a few bites of a tuna steak that my wife prepared. I'm not a fish guy, honestly. I had a couple people ask me what kind of fish I like, and I enjoy sushi. Obviously, I can't have the rice, so sashimi. But if, all things being equal, if I was able to eat carbs, I would probably have gone for catfish fried in a cornmeal batter. So good. Not something I'd eat every day, but it's pretty darn good. So the fish yesterday was, it's fish. If you love it, great. It's just not my thing. I like meat, red meat. Delightful. So that's not what you came here for, my dietary habits. So mea culpa, I didn't really look into the Decastro versus Doe. I had it conflated in my head with another case where he's trying to get officer information, and he had received multiple extensions to date for getting those officers served. So I also didn't realize, because I really didn't look into it, that the underlying action, the underlying cause of action, was from November of 2023, and he filed the Decastro versus Doe lawsuit in November of 2025, barely making the statute of limitations. So another factor that the court is going to look into, if it can't dismiss without prejudice, because a dismissal without prejudice once the statute runs is essentially a dismissal with prejudice, and the court is going to take that into consideration. So it was his first request for a continuance to get the party served in this particular case. So, that obviously that goes into what the court considers. So the court granted that. That was a no-brainer. You get a continuance, not as a matter of right, but generally speaking, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, maybe 100 times out of 100, the court will give you that continuance to get him served. He was also granted discovery against he gets to issue subpoenas to government agencies to try to get the information he needs to get these defendants named and served. I was a little more shocked about that. Not shocked. I was, even knowing now what I know, I am somewhat surprised that the first go around the court did that. I don't necessarily expect the Nevada Highway Patrol to give the addresses and phone numbers of these guys, but they will probably turn over the names, and they'll probably turn over like body cam footage and things like that, depending on what he asks for in these subpoenas. So, in my experience, not ever having tried to do discovery to get does through third parties in federal court, but it's not always easy to do, because there's privacy interests, generally speaking, in a lot of this stuff. And I know at least California, probably a lot of states, have privacy restrictions on the addresses and phone numbers of law enforcement. So he could be fighting an uphill battle, considering that he hasn't been able to get the addresses and phone numbers of the, I think, 2 officers in another lawsuit that he has failed to serve. And that's, with the, was it the county? City? Anyway, that's with named defendants having been served, and he's still been unable to get the address information for those officers. I don't know how successful he will be. I guess what remains to be seen is, will the Nevada Highway Patrol, will the state of Nevada step in and object to any subpoenas that Decastro causes to be issued. That would be an interesting thing to see, because once they're subpoenaed, they have a right to oppose the subpoena, to object to it, to seek to narrow it down, and they could send in their lawyers who are probably better than Decastro at the law. I understand Decastro is a constitutional law scholar. His record, though, in civil lawsuits against various public officials and public agencies have been less than stellar. So it'll be interesting to see it'll be interesting to watch how this plays out. It's become more interesting to me all of a sudden. It was just kind of a footnote. Now it's becoming somewhat interesting to me. In other news, a commenter, I forget the commenter's name, and I don't know that I'd say it anyway, even if I did, raised the issue about Chile's appeal on the California state action against Blue Bacon and Kate Peter and some other people. If you remember, Blue Bacon got terminating sanctions and discovery sanctions, and he got the action dismissed as to Blue Bacon. Chile's been talking about filing an appeal for a long time, and apparently, thank you, Big Jim Finch, really cool news. Go check out his channel, really cool news. Big Jim Finch did some digging, and apparently on the 24th of this month, the notice of the filing of notice of appeal was sent out by the clerk in Los Angeles. Chile had apparently filed his notice of appeal in November of 25, and I don't know. I thought the clerk had like 10 days to send out the notice of the filing of notice of appeal. So I don't have any explanation as to why it's taken 5 months, roughly, to get that out, but apparently it has. So Chile will be able to proceed on his appeal. That might also be interesting to take a look at. In California, appellate briefs are, I think they're available online, so we'll be able to get to follow along on that. That might be fun to watch. Again, I don't really know what he's going to appeal. I don't know, the court has a lot of discretion to do things. The court gave Chile a lot of chances in that particular case, and it'll be interesting to see what the appeal is, what the actual appellate brief looks like. And I thought there was one other thing that I was going to discuss this morning. I have court at 9 o'clock, so we'll see if I could think of it in time. Oh yeah, so apparently Iran has said that it would be willing to have negotiations in Turkey or Pakistan with the U.S. So that's a good sign. It's a bad sign that the U.S. is amassing ground troops in the area. That's a bad sign. Troops on the ground is no good. It's no bueno. It's an escalation of the current conflict. Israel apparently attacked Iran's nuclear power plant last night. And this morning, the Iranians attacked near the Israeli power plant. They've shown a lot of constraint. They've struck near, and you could say, well, they're trying to, they're just missing. I'm not sure about that. They've been able to take out specific facilities like the satellite communications array. They've been able to take out other radar systems like THAAD radar systems and other really expensive radar systems throughout the region. They've been able to hit specific anti-air defenses in Israel. So I'm not really sure that they would miss something as big as a power plant or a nuclear power plant. I mean, those are big targets. I don't think they're missing them. I think they're sending messages, because Israel keeps striking at the Iranian power plant. And I think what they're trying to do is send a warning, because I think the last thing Iran wants is for their nuclear power plant to get hit. And I don't think they're really keen on hitting a nuclear power plant in Israel, because that is a major issue for a lot of countries. And I believe it's a pretty big violation of international law to strike civilian nuclear facilities. So an argument could strongly be made that the Dimona nuclear facility is a mix civilian and military facility. But, that's neither here nor there. So the good news is, however, after I just filled my gas tank for $6 a gallon, $5.99 and 9/10 cents per gallon, which is awesome. The good news is that, there may be some negotiations. Now, the U.S. has been pretty shit at negotiating. Trump has not selected actual diplomats to conduct negotiations. He's been sending Witkoff and Kushner. Witkoff is his longtime friend in real estate, and Kushner is his son-in-law. So, keeping it all in the family. However, apparently, the negotiations would be with J.D. Vance and his team. I'm not a J.D. Vance fan by any stretch of the imagination. I have a lot of misgivings about him. But he seems competent and he seems intelligent. I disagree with him vehemently on a lot of things, but he seems competent and he seems intelligent, and hopefully he will be able to get better results, especially if he makes use of the actual diplomats that the U.S. has, and he doesn't take a clown car full of clowns like Trump likes to send out. So I have hope that this can get resolved amicably. The parties are really far apart, but the good news, just like in the law, the good news is if the parties are willing to negotiate, that means that each side might give and take. And, each side probably has red lines, but there are probably issues that each side can come to agreements on. And, it would be lovely. It would be lovely to see the U.S. extricated from this war. Israel doesn't show any real signs of wanting this war to stop. So much like the negotiations between the U.S. and Russia to end the Ukrainian war, where the Ukrainians didn't want the war to end, and they kept sabotaging things by making strikes inside of Russia and attacking high-ranking Russian officials inside of Russia in an attempt to sabotage the negotiations. I am reasonably sure that Israel will also attempt to do the same thing. It will be interesting to see if the U.S. has any real control over Israel. I mean, they are way smaller than us and they are completely reliant on us. I don't see why we wouldn't have any control over them, but I fear that we don't. So it's still a good sign that Iran is finally saying we're willing to have negotiations. That's a departure from what they've been saying for the last few weeks. And, Trump has essentially been making up this whole narrative that the parties are in negotiations. But, it's a good sign. So have faith, have hope. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.